Was Nephi the second wrong about First Nephi's people? Did Nephi the second even read First Nephi?
Let's talk about that.
Many mock Nephi for what he says in Helaman 7:7, for his desire to joy with the first Nephi in the promised land, then were his people easy to be entreated, etc.
There was a lot of giggling about, everybody always thinks the grass is greener. Oh, everybody always thinks that olden times were better than modern times. There was a lot of that kind of talk.
Didn't Nephi read the account of Laman and Lemuel doing this and that?
Right. Well, actually, speaking of what Nephi could have read, we only have the small plates that were added after the 116 pages were lost. This Nephi had the entire record of the original Nephi and Lehi and their family. He actually knows a lot more about them than we do. All we know is that Laman and Lemuel rebelled, but Sam didn't. Jacob didn't, Joseph didn't. There was a whole family of prophets, and Nephi says they lived after the manner of happiness. It's completely plausible that those people actually were easier to be entreated. And let's not forget that the time that this Nephi is living in is one of the worst times in the Book of Mormon. The pride cycle actually doesn't happen throughout the Book of Mormon. It happens here in Helaman.
Yeah, Helaman and 3rd Nephi, and we put a cool chart on the screen from BestOfComeFollowMe that shows this.
These people go from wickedness to righteousness in the space of a couple of years. They have so many internal dissensions. The Gadianton robbers are running amok. Their leaders get murdered every 5 minutes. There's a lot of reason to say this people are more difficult to deal with than the people that the original Nephi was dealing with.
Also, no one criticized Alma for wishing he were an angel, but they criticized Nephi for lamenting that he lives in the time he does. I get that we all do this, but I don't want someone to take a microscope to every one of my frustrating moments and criticize me for thinking a certain thought in a moment of time. Nephi included his thoughts in the record he kept, and Mormon thought those thoughts important enough to record them in the final record that we have. If it's important for us to know of his prayer and his pleadings, then why are we critical of him? I think it can be done with a little more grace.
Especially given the actual contrast between the two groups of people. Mm-hmm. I think part of it is that Mormon is taking this lamentation as another way of emphasizing to us just how wicked these people are. Mm-hmm. They're so wicked that even Nephi is driven to wishing he had lived at a different time.
So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide.
I used to laugh at this account too, in my ignorance, and I was pondering, wait a minute, if I'm laughing at somebody who's already been saved miraculously, being encircled by fire, has converted thousands of people through his preaching, and is shortly going to receive the sealing power and get conveyed by the Spirit, maybe I'm reading the scriptures wrong.
And he's in mourning. Like, how often are we supposed to be laughing at people who are truly mourning,
The verse at issue is Helaman 7:7, that I could have joyed with him in the promised land, then were his people easy to be entreated. Looking at the text, the first point is, he says he wants to joy with him in the promised land. He didn't say I want to joy with Nephi in their journeys from Jerusalem to the sea, or crossing the sea, which is all the stories we have about Laman and Lemuel trying to kill him. So they land in 1 Nephi 18, and there's not really any plot between that and when 2 Nephi ends, except for 2 Nephi 5, when they split the two nations. Therefore, being with Nephi in the promised land means being with Nephi after all the beatings and attempted murder by Laman and Lemuel. The second important point here, I think, from the text is the 2nd Nephi here refers to 1 Nephi's people. His people are easy to be entreated. I went back and searched, maybe somebody can find where I missed it. But as far as I could find, 1 Nephi never refers to his immediate family as his people or our people. It's always by their names, or our family, or my brothers, or brethren. He never uses the word people. He never uses that term to describe the people around him until 2 Nephi 5, when they split and he starts talking about my people wanted to call the place Nephi. He also uses it to talk about his descendants, like they're going to be destroyed. He uses that in various places, but he never refers to his family or even them plus Ishmael as my people or our people.
Oh, interesting.
So
when he's saying my people, he's not saying everybody I knew. He's saying the people who split with me.
Yes, and asked me to be king. Yeah. So I think here we have the 2nd Nephi saying, I want to joy with him in the promised land, then we're his people. I think both of those point you to 2 Nephi 5 and on, which is, of course, consistent with the footnote the scriptures give us for Helaman 7:7. It goes to 2 Nephi 5, I think it's 27 or so, which you quoted. Was Nephi II wrong about 1st Nephi and his people? No. The scriptures do not support the common ridicule or criticism of Nephi II. By way of quick summary, Nephi II, unlike us, had the record on the large plates of Nephi. The people at the time of Nephi II were really wicked. It's unfair to single out Nephi II for criticism of his wistfulness. Nephi II and Mormon were both impressed to include this account. We should be careful when jeering at people who have had spiritual experiences that we can't even comprehend. Nephi II's express reference to the promised land excludes Laman and Lemuel's persecutions. Nephi II's express reference to 1st Nephi's people is a reference to the Nephites after splitting from the Lamanites in 2nd Nephi 5. We hope this helps you come unto Jesus Christ through studying and emulating his disciples such as Nephi.